So, for those who have just joined in the last few minutes, Michael unfortunately has come down with COVID. He's not able to join us tonight. And so he was going to be kind of our lead on launching into this conversation of moving into some other species than those that we've really focused on so far. For people that have been with us for a little while, obviously beef has been a bit of the main focus so far, but we're definitely interested in moving into sheep, pork, goats, chicken, etc. I think tonight we're not going to be able to dive in too deep without kind of the deep expertise that Michael has for our team, but we still want to get the conversation started about why you're part of this call, what you see as some of the challenges that you're facing that collectively we can help address, and maybe see what some of the opportunities that you see might be to either help in production, help in finding buyers, whatever the case may be. So I kind of want to open
If
it
anyone
up.
lost slaughter.
What?
Oh, I was going to add, just we know a couple of slaughterhouses closed this year. So is anyone impacted by that? Do you need help connecting with some new processing facilities? So just kind of a conversation with those pieces.
Yeah, so glad to turn it over to anyone who has some initial thoughts on what we should be focused on as a team to help you out.
One thing as a new producer, we've only been doing this for, I would say, under 6 years, is that we have to only sell wholes and halves to send enough to a USDA producer. Basically, we would have to send our whole flock. They're expecting 40 or 50 animals at a time to have them cut how we want them, to make sure that we're selling to our customers the animals that we raised. And it becomes almost impossible for us to really get into the market where we could sell lamb shanks, we could sell legs, we could sell ground lamb. We can't really do that. We have to end up selling a whole or half animal, and at the end of the day, that's someone that's putting out hundreds of dollars and may or may not want it, or might not be comfortable with cooking it. So that's one of the problems that we have found in the recently.
Do you need processors to either take smaller amounts, or you need to figure out some sort of aggregation system to be able to meet their threshold?
We need to find a processor, a USDA processor that is close enough to us to make the transport costs make sense. That will take. Sorry, our dogs are going crazy. We'll take a handful of animals. 5, 10, 15 is right now. Our max is about 15. So
Right.
it's what is it? It's I forget the processor that's closest to us, who is USDA certified to do sheep and lamb. They're expecting 50 animals. If you want to say this is going to be your animals, this is going to be how you want them cut. So, I mean, we have control of how we raise them. We just don't want them to put them into a pool. We want to send them to our clients as these are our animals. If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It totally does. Would you be open to, if there are other small producers in your area that were raising them in similar ways, being able to aggregate that way? Or you really just need there to be a smaller, lower threshold?
If we can figure out a way to do that with multiple producers, that would be excellent. But once again, we're doing right now. Actually, we're doing Navajo churro, which is a specific breed, and they do have a slightly different flavor. So I am worried about getting stuff mixed in with somebody else's who might be doing things similarly, but it's not, I want to sell and go to a client and go, this is my animal. This is who I've raised. I've raised them well. Come to the farm, visit it, and be comfortable with what you're getting. And, you know, and while we do have people that will buy a chunk, it's a big investment for someone that might not be comfortable cooking lamb. And
Yeah.
so we're kind of in that point of maybe we can get together and have a bunch of producers go at one time that will make whatever, you know, whatever USDA person be okay with it, that they've got enough lamb going through that they're in lamb mode. And that would certainly be a solution. But it's, you know, we've all got to slaughter at the same time and send it over at the same time. So that's a lot of that's a lot of work to
Yeah.
make
Alex,
to make it happen.
Alex, where do you go right now? Where do you take your animals to? Or where did you take them?
So right now we have them, because they're wholes and halves, they're slaughtered on the farm, where they're skinned, and the carcasses are taken over to Castle Meats in Ione. We've used some other people that do cut and wrap, and we really like them. And so that's what we're doing. And then, you know, and then the ultimate consumer basically pays for the cut and wrap and gives us money based on hanging weight, which covers our costs and the little bit of money in our pocket.
Great. Well, thanks for kicking this off, Alex. That's a good start. Before we move to other thoughts, we have a few new people joining us. Patrick Mulvaney, you want to give a quick intro?
Yeah, this is Patrick Mulvaney. I'm a restaurateur here in Sacramento, just finishing sending off Slow Food International, USA, and South and Central America from Sacramento, where we're going to have probably 40,000 people here next year. And then in 2027, Terra Madre Americas, and we expect 100,000 people to come for to talk about good, clean, fair food.
Wow, cool.
Awesome. Evan and I were just over at your place on Saturday night and missed you, Patrick, while you were working on those other things. Shelley, over to you.
Okay, food. As I'm new to this space and pretty new to interfaith food, but I was talking to Steve today, and he was expressing an interest in connecting people in faith communities who have certain requirements of their meat with sustainable meat producers. And so I'm just here to learn mostly and listen. And I'm happy to be here.
Great, welcome. And those opportunities are certainly on our mind to try to figure out how to work on those a little better, Shelley. Sam, over to you.
Hello. Sorry I was late. I had a password issue. My name's Sam Bookin. I am the sales manager for Cream Co. Meats in Oakland. We are a sustainable and regenerative aggregator and processor.
Thanks. Good to see you, Sam. Okay, I think that's everyone new that showed up.
Julie
opening
Golden
the
has
floor.
joined as well. Julie, do you want to quickly?
Oh, yeah.
See something?
Let's see, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can hear you.
Okay, Julie Golden with Golden Vineyards. I'm sorry, I'm traveling, so I have a ranch, and I am a farmer, beef and pork producer in Mendocino County.
Great, thanks for joining us, Julie. Okay, so turning the floor back over to you guys, if anyone has thoughts, reactions to what Alex brought up, or other concerns they want addressed, other things that they think should be a focus of helping to build out these supply chains that we're working on.
I think having a USDA butchering facility closer to the foothills area where we live, and also, I mean, when we first started looking into getting USDA butchering done, timelines for every USDA butcher that we called were more than a year out in most places, which that's a little inhibitive. So it pushes you into the whole animal sale and going to just the auction houses, which is commonly what we're doing. We're taking our animals to Escalon and selling them, you know, on hoof. Whereas it would be nice to have other outlets and direct to consumer, or even having a pathway for the religious groups that are interested in buying cuts of meat, but don't necessarily have the facility to, you know, buy a whole animal or have the you know, economics to buy whole animal at a time. So
I'd like to just make a comment to what you said, is that even doing the holes and getting the cut and wrap, that's been for us 6 months to a year out, that we have to basically tell a butcher that we like to use, who's gonna cut it and wrap it a year ahead, and go, well, we think we're gonna have this many animals,
exactly.
and they're not even born yet, and that's not even USDA, that's wholes and halves.
Right.
So there's a choke point with even the butchers that are doing wholes and halves, not just USDA.
Yes.
Rob, I see you have your hand up over there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little bit about North Bay Butchers. We're located up in Petaluma, and we have maybe 2 to 3 week wait for slaughter schedule. We do certified organic slaughter as well as certified organic cut and wrap, all USDA. We can schedule whatnot. We can add more slaughter days for faster scheduling as well. We can handle any amount of animals, and we have no minimums as well. Favorable rates. If the higher volume you do, we can give better rates. We can facilitate backhaul weekly or bi-weekly all the way down to Modesto and the Central Valley as well. All the cut sheets are custom. We'll do whatever you want. Sausage, all our smoking, we currently send up to Fort Bragg, and we can facilitate a lot of stuff, anything that's really needed. And we're slaughtering 3 days a week. We cut and wrap 5 days a week, probably running at maybe 35% capacity right now. Probably 20 to 25 to 30 head of beef a week, maybe 50 lambs a week, 40 hogs. So a lot of redwood customers are coming down here right now to us, and we're taking on some much larger customers as well. So if anybody is looking for slaughter and cut and wrap within a few hours driving,
Great, thanks, Rob.
yeah.
I want to interrupt really quickly. Shelley Smith has also joined us from
Yes, we already heard from her, Doris.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. Forget it. Today's not my day. Never mind. To better things.
And Lockwoods, you're muted.
I was going to say, speaking of Shelley, I would really like to connect with a marketplace too. And we are willing to alter our practices for halal if necessary, although I think we pretty much
think we
fit it
cover all the
anyway.
bases.
So a marketplace or restaurants, somewhere to connect with people who are interested in buying our meat, and then get a USDA butcher involved to help with that part of it.
I assume, Rob, you will butcher goats there as well? I didn't hear that on your list.
Rob, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy still. What was it? Was there a question for me?
Yeah, there was.
Just wanted to make sure that you're capable of and willing to butcher goats per cut as well.
Yeah, beef, hogs, lambs, goats. we can also, we don't slaughter poultry or any fowl or anything, but we can process it. We have it on our grant. We do quite a lot of processing of that as well as the red meat. Yeah. We can label certified organic if you guys are, if anyone is certified, and whatnot. So, yeah.
Great. And so, I don't know if the question from the Lockwoods was directed maybe towards Shelley, with looking at potential market outputs for them. I don't know if you have anything to say there, Shelley.
Probably the best thing to do would be just to be in communication, and I don't have anything offhand, but we should definitely connect and kind of see what's possible there. We're a nonprofit that basically connects food producers and faith communities in various ways. So I'm just learning about the meat part of things. Oops, oh, there you are. You just moved on my screen. So let's, I will leave my email in the chat, and anybody
Okay,
who wants to do that.
cool. Thank you.
No. Yep.
Great. Thanks, Shelley. Sam, over to you.
Have you guys spoken to Cliff and Nikolai at Creamco before?
Who's that directed to, Sam?
To the Lockwoods.
No, we have not.
No.
You probably should.
Okay, can we give us their contact information?
Yeah.
Great. So to, I guess, Alex and the Lockwoods questions, do you think there's just an overall lack of processing capacity, or it's just in the wrong place, or are there other bottlenecks that are affecting the times?
I mean, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, just anywhere close to us is backed up with cattle, and they don't even want to do smaller animals because they have so much cattle to process. We, of course, Petaluma would not be that far, the Bay Area, not that far, so we can look at going farther out.
But that requires doing obviously multiple, quite a few head at a time to make it worth it for the travel,
Right.
And that's what I would say. I mean, for us to get a bunch of animals into a trailer, and not that Petaluma is that far away, but to get everybody there to then turn around and come back with something with enough coolers or refrigerated truck to pick everything up, it really makes our prices go way up. And one of the things which and maybe it's pie in the sky is that going to having, we could certainly sell more wholes and halves if someone could take a leg home or take some ground lamb home and be able to cook it and go, this isn't something weird. This is something that I like, I taste good, or I don't like it and I don't want to buy it. But to get the USDA to do this individual pieces basically hurts us from both doing one more income stream, and B, selling wholes and halves, because they all think it's going to be gamey and muttony. And I'm sure with the goats, there's probably even a bigger, idea about, what goat tastes like, and it's going to be gamey. Where if they actually had one piece, we could sell everything we've got, wholes and halves, if I could only give out a leg or some ground.
True. And
I like goat.
And technically, about the only way we get by with doing something like that is we say, well, this is something we have butchered here, and here, we'll give it to you. Try it. See what you think. We had a party once at our place, and we smoked an entire goat, and by the time a third of our party goers had gone through the food line, the goat was gone. And people were like, wait, where is it? I wanted to try more. Or where is it? So yes, it goes over well once people actually get past their misperceptions.
Yeah, so others that are on the call, what do you see as either blockages or opportunities that we might be looking at that we can explore over the coming months?
I have one. I
Ashley?
think I get,
Oh.
sorry, go ahead, Ashley. I'll go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to mention, I wish I could remember the name of the farmer I was sitting with at the meat gathering in Nevada, but he was talking, he raised poultry, he raised other meat, but he raised poultry. And he was talking about the siting of a poultry processing plant, perhaps in Ukiah. And then when I went to the local agricultural gathering here, I met a number of poultry producers that were slaughtering on farm. And that Holly Madrigal had mentioned that there was a feasibility study that was done. And I sort of thought maybe she was referring to the fact that part of that feasibility study covered the need, a need assessment for poultry processing in the area. So I just wanted to mention that. So I'm just trying to understand myself what the need could be for poultry processing here, that could maybe serve Southern Humboldt and Mendocino without people having to go. I think people go to Petaluma right now for poultry processing if they're not doing it on farm.
I'm sorry, this is like the first Zoom thing I've ever done, so I don't know how to put my hand up. But we've been doing research into poultry, and if you just want to sell at a local farmer's market in California, you can process it on site on your farm. And there's a sticker that you have to put on everything that says exempt and some numbers over it. So you can slaughter them, you can do everything on your farm and then sell them locally without going through a major processor, and it's all legal if you go to the farmers markets, your local farmers market, or off your property.
And I think you're limited to a certain number per year, except rabbits, which I think there's no cap on.
And I don't, and the number per year is I think fairly
20,000. 20,000 is the federal exemption. So
Thank
and that
you.
includes poultry and rat tax.
Yeah.
So rabbits will be included, but they never know, if you harvest 20,000 or 21,000, they don't come and count the federal, right?
Yeah.
So.
And my question kind of.
Thanks for that, Alex. And
yeah, and I had a comment that fell along the kind of lines as far as, oh, it's lagging. Sorry, Patrick, I'm talking over you. Feasibility on any more USDA slaughter and processing facilities, because everything I have heard is that the regulation and all.
No, I'm not talking. Go ahead, Jenny.
Sorry, am I freezing? Let me stop my video.
You're lagging a little bit.
Okay, let me stop my video and see if that helps.
Good idea.
My comments had to do with the feasibility of additional processing plants being created really in any of the areas we're considering, because I'm El Dorado County, and again, I'm close to the Amador County area. Again, a lot of our folks use Castle Meats as well, but there is no, the long-term feasibility, everything I have been looking into is it's going to take almost 5 or more years for a plant to get up and running to even start breaking even. So nobody really wants to sign up to do any kind of additional facilities to support that because the money doesn't work out. So I think that's my only comment or problem. Another problem for you, Patrick, but.
Yeah, that certainly additional processing capacity. I don't know if other people have thoughts on potential ways of addressing that, or if that's just the reality that we're in. or are there creative ways of kind of negotiating these roadblocks? Rob, your hand's up. I don't know if it's still up or if it's newly up.
No, it's newly up. Yes, slaughter is extremely hard to make it work. It's extremely hard to break even, and it's even harder to make a good profit on it and make a living. If you can pair a cut and wrap with it, your cut and wrap will pay for slaughter. Slaughter doesn't even matter when you get enough processing capacity as a further processor. That's just, and even in like our region here in Sonoma County, the Bay Area, where we can charge upwards of $300 for like a beef kill, it's really difficult. And when you look at animals and everything else from a processing perspective, slaughter and cut and wrap has its like percentages on the carcass of a value. Cut and wrap holds 90% of the value of that carcass, and slaughter holds 10%. In our region, where we can charge more for it, for like beef and other kills and whatnot, it's like an 80-20 split, but slaughter by itself is extremely difficult. So if you're gonna pair a cut and wrap with a slaughter unit or something like that, you can do it, but you need to have the further processing capacity to do it. And then your slaughter cost pretty much becomes irrelevant, as well as the higher amount of animals you can split all your costs over on a week of slaughter, and the more days you run per month and per year, then it becomes even lower and cheaper for you to run. But it's still difficult. It is extremely difficult to make slaughter work in the long run. So that's also it's a high fence that you have to sit on for slaughter.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And once again, I don't know how to fucking raise my hand. Sorry, I said a bad word. But for us is you're saying slaughter is 20%. Realistically, for sheep and lambs, because it's not a per weight of the people that are doing the cut and wrap locally, and the guy who's doing the slaughtering, who's really good at skinning, much better than I am, it's about a third. So the slaughter gets a third, the cut and wrap gets a third, and we actually get slightly less than a third. So it's like a third, and a third. So the numbers on sheep and lambs, maybe it's just because where we're at are a little bit different than 20% for slaughter.
Alex,
Yeah, definitely.
I think you can just raise your hand like physically, and the computer will pick it up. Try that.
There's definitely a huge difference between like custom slaughter and USDA slaughter. I mean, the fastest times I've ever clocked USDA slaughter is 9 minutes a lamb. I know custom guys that can do 5-minute lambs. They can do all of them all at once. In a big plant, you could probably do, 500 head an hour. In a slaughter unit like mine, I have a 45-foot Friesla unit. I can do like 5 at a time. So when you get into the percentages of what you're making or whatever, it's kind of there with the percentages. 90-10 and 80-20 is about where it's at. And I charge like $75 a head for a lamb kill.
Oh, we want.
And 95 for the cut and wrap. So yeah.
So basically, but that's so you're talking 75. So when and that's USDA has a lot cheaper and is in that 10%, 20% range, but we just can't bring enough to a USDA facility that's affordable to us, because it's the closer ones want too many animals, further ones we've got too much transport costs. So I mean, to me, it's kind of like, I mean, there's certain laws that have to, I mean, we've got to start looking at some of the laws that were made in the 50s and 60s that were there for a good reason, But, right now we've got lots of producers that, we put our name on something, we're responsible, and I'm fine with being responsible for it. And there's, people that are butchers that are out there that are already getting inspected, that put their name on it, and they're going to be responsible for it. So we need to figure out how to make small producers be effective. And if we get huge and we want to send our lamb around the world or around the country, then obviously we're bringing enough lambs that we can go through the USDA system. But I think we really need to look at some of these laws that are stifling the small person, because you can't get to be a big person.
Lockwood, I saw a hand up over there.
Yeah, I have just a side question to ask Rob, and that is, what's the square footage size of your facility? And I'm asking more so in the context of curiosity as to what a footprint needs to be for a facility to be large enough to, make a living in terms of a USDA slaughter, cut and wrap.
My slaughter floor. Well, first of all, I do all the killing and bleeding outside,
All right.
and then I open the carcasses inside. The processing floor in the unit is 8.5 feet wide by like 22 feet long, 20 foot long. And my cooler is 15 feet long and 8.5 feet wide. And then I have a mechanical room that's probably about 6 feet long and has the refrigeration equipment, onboard generator, and onboard water, and my water treatment system.
And are you mobile?
No, if I went mobile in this unit, I'd be looking at about $30,000 a year in insurance just to run the semi to pull it. I'd have to have 2 to 3 insurance carriers and probably about $120,000 a year to insure the unit itself, as well as a Class A driver.
So yeah, it doesn't make it worth it. No, but that was one of the thoughts I had for up here in the foothills, is that is one of the only things that seems to make sense, is to have a mobile unit that could service more territory. But yes.
Yeah, it gets difficult. You can get smaller units and derate them, so you can pull them with like a pickup, like a 3500 dually. But you're still looking at a lot of insurance. The insurance carriers don't really know what to do with the trailers, the slaughter trailers. And on top of that, the USDA is going to have to inspect every single site you go to. And the sites can be pretty rudimentary, but they will have to be approved beforehand, as well as water treatment, which if you get a smaller unit, you don't really have the room to put water treatment on board. And then you have to take care of your waste. And for some reason in California, composting vermilion tissue is not allowed. You can do irrigation with like blood water and stuff if you go through the California State Water Board. But yeah, you have to have water potability certificates, depending on your water source, et cetera, et cetera. So those are some of like the big things with moving them around. And if you really want to learn about moving them around, you can contact Island Grown Co-op up in Washington. They do the islands out there. They move it around every day. But yeah, they've done a pretty good job of that. But down here, it's really difficult, as well as depending on how many number of animals you do. And the cost goes up. I mean, even stationary, I mean, sometimes, I look at like $400 to $500 an hour to operate. If I go on overtime, I mean, with the inspectors and run not off hours, but past my allotment of USDA inspected hours, where then the plant has to pay for the inspector. I've, hit $650 an hour to run a plant. if it takes me an hour to do, 7 sheep, that's not even $500, close to it, but not quite there. So it gets it becomes really difficult.
So,
And, but yeah,
Rob, just a question for you, just generally, because I think we can all figure out, our weights as producers, like how many pounds of meat can you process, like, or hanging weight, or whatever way you look at it, how many, pounds of hanging weight can you do in a day?
I think the biggest day I ever did was about, and this was beef. I think I did it last week. I think in one day I did about 8,700 pounds hanging weight. That's beef. So sheep,
for sheep
I'm
or
not really
goats, it
sure.
would probably be about half that, because you got a lot more, and how long are you hanging them and cooling them for a certain amount of time? It seems like your space is kind of small, but what is your time from something arriving to having, to actually going in there and cutting stuff up? What's your time frame for that?
We do most of the live animal receiving the day before slaughter. We also receive the day of, just depending on our space. We have limited pen space and whatnot. But we can cool a lamb and cut it in 24 hours if you wanted. You have 24 hours by regulation to cool the carcasses. The beef, they usually hang for like 5 to 8 days before you can really get into them and touch them. They cool pretty quickly because the coolers are oversized. But for it to really firm up and stuff. The small critters, the lambs and goats, I mean, they cool really fast, but it's more of a quality thing if you let it hang for 7 to 10 days on the small critters.
I know, I get it, and I mean the local people, they don't do 5 to 7 days, because I know when they're when everything's available, right? And I know how long it takes to freeze. So I'm just so it's what sounds like what you're doing is pretty similar. It's just that you've got the US, and this is where I'm a little bit unsure about, is that, so do you have a USDA inspector there every time, or do they just come out and inspect your facility? Because that's one thing that I'm not clear about getting the USDA stamp, which seems that you've got, is that, are you hiring a guy that's there every time something comes in, or just on a regular basis?
When it comes to slaughter, they're there every day, all day, and a public health veterinarian is there every day to stop in and check on their circuit. But we're assigned an inspector for slaughter for every day. The cut and wrap facility, they're on circuits, so they visit, up to 3 to 5 plants a day. So they're only there at the cut and wrap facility for a couple of hours, or sometimes 15 minutes, depending on what their schedule is and what they're doing. But yeah, slaughter is much more rigorous as far as inspections. The inspector checks every carcass, every piece of viscera or offal, watches every kill, everything. So yeah, it's much more rigorous, as you have from humane handling all the way into carcass inspection, whereas the further processing plants are not more lenient, but they do more off of looking at records than they do watching you in the plant. And then they come in and watch your processing and see what you guys are doing and this and that and whatnot. And to be clear too, we don't do all of our hanging and aging and everything in the slaughter plant. We ship to our processing facility maybe 3 times a week, as well as multiple other establishments and state inspected shops and grocery stores around here for whole carcass stuff. So yeah, our processing facility about 3,500 square feet. So we have a lot more space there to age and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
Penny, over to you. Oh,
thank you for giving us all that information. I think that's
Yeah,
really
that really
helpful for
helps.
everybody.
yeah, thanks, Rob.
And
Hey,
I was
Rob,
gonna
I
say, and that is why it costs so much more, right? Just to clarify, because an inspector has to be there while all of that slaughter is happening. Just for clarity, yes.
We get 8 hours of free inspection a day for slaughter.
Yeah.
If you go over, then you're paying their wages about on a normal base pay, it's $89.70 or something an hour.
Well, Rob, so yes, normally, inspections are free. You get an inspector assigned to you. My question for you, how many acres are you on? Because normally there's a limitation for USDA. You have to have a number of acres to be on because they want to make sure that everything, is nice and clean and dandy. And also, how did they allow you to process outside and bring the carcass inside the trailer? That's kind of weird.
As long as you're not opening the carcass outside, then you're fine. As long as if you have a lot of pest problems, then you can run into issues. But we scald the hogs outside, bring them inside to gut and do everything. And everything's killed outside and bled. But we don't open outside. We don't take feet off. We don't gambrel outside. We don't do anything like that. All of that's done inside.
And are you? How many acres are you on?
The entire slaughter side of what my premise is.
Yes.
Probably an acre. The slaughter side itself is probably 200 by 200 feet.
Okay.
And I only extended my premise because the slaughter facility is on my ranch. And sometimes I like to field kill my beef, USDA.
Mhm.
So I bring them down to the slaughter unit and then I rifle shoot them, rifle kill.
Mhm.
Well, that's here and there. Or if I get crazy ones, then I'll bring them down with the cow herd and whatnot. But that's kind of not here nor there, It's just something that we do.
Those are the same little bikes that.
Okay, well, we're just right about at the top of the hour. So why don't we go ahead and wrap up unless anyone has any closing thoughts, questions, comments? Yeah, Bill.
One was, I think, are they developing a mailing list, for like producers, consumers, processors that we could go to as a resource? Here's a list of all the people that are butchering chickens in California, type of thing.
Doris or Courtney, do you want to respond to that, at least on as far as our team goes?
And the question, so you asking us if we can gather a contact list with all those folks?
Yes, it sounded like there was at the beginning, or with the other group, some kind of a mailing list getting established.
Yes, you're getting our newsletters, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been a link in, I think the last 2 ones, Courtney sends those out with a list of participants, and I believe that information is on there. Courtney,
okay.
you still on?
Yeah, I'm on here. So pretty much all the newsletters going out now for the last month or so have that link on there where everyone who's been participating in this group is on there. So it doesn't have every processor in the state on it yet. We have that information that'll be going into our website when it's released in a little bit. And we can talk about that more. But for the people that have been participating in these workshops and these conversations, their information is on there. And there's also a place where you can go in and add more information about yourself. So kind of the basic information is your name and your email, but you can add your phone number, you can add, what your farm produces. So some simple information like that.
I appreciate that. I got to dig that back up and look it up then.
Yeah, and it'll keep going out in every newsletter, so you can look for it. It's usually near the bottom.
Okay. And then one other thing was, is anybody doing any work with agrivoltaics or solar grazing? Anything going on with the universities or in that area?
That I don't know.
You could check out CSU Chico. They might be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure somebody's doing research on that, but they aren't connected with our project yet. If you find them, let us know and we'll reach out and we can keep our eyes open too.
Yeah, I have a farm that I go by every day, and I think they need to be doing something like that on it.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing some like sheep grazing under the panels and stuff, but I don't know what happened with any of that.
Okay.
Oh, before we cut off, I don't know if you saw in the chat that there was just an announcement that actually went out in the last couple of newsletters too, that there's a course on regenerative grazing that's being offered by, I think it's RDS. Well, Kathy Webster is the one that announced it, but there's a bunch of different kind of people helping put this on. So there's a link for that in the chat.
Yeah, it looks like
and
maybe it
also in the
was San
newsletter.
Mateo RCD.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. Ahmad, you have your hand up, and then why don't we go ahead and wrap up after that?
Okay, great. Thanks. Yeah, just wanted to say a quick piece on halal meat, in particular, lamb and goat, in terms of Islamic culture in particular, especially in the Central Valley, and tying in the interfaith piece. That is an intersectional space where I'm happy to connect people, not just in terms of goat or lamb or even halal, but that whole interfaith piece. I'm happy to create networks and share information and pollinate. I know that Khalid, he's a friend and colleague of mine as well. And so even in terms of teaching or demonstration, in terms of that particular process. So just wanted to add that to the mix.
Thanks, Ahmad. That's great. Yeah. So
How can we get a hold of you? Maybe you can put something in the chat that we could email you
I'll drop it in there
contact you
now.
about that.
And also, I'm already on the list that exists from the Roots of Change. If we have a few minutes, I'll drop it in there really quickly. If not, you can find it.
Go ahead and drop that in, and then
Alex,
we'll wrap
are you
up.
on that list? Are you receiving our newsletters?
Yeah, I'm receiving your newsletters. Yes.
Okay.
Good.
What's the
So
last name
you have
of the
access then to
double check?
the contact info.
I think it's called participant
I assume so. I haven't really looked at it.
Yeah. If you're getting the newsletters, then you have a link in that to the contact info.
Great.
Okay. And it looks like Ahmad has dropped some contact information in there. So you want to grab that, and then we can wrap it up and everyone can get back to dinner or whatever they're doing. I've got a dinner to cook for the family. So thanks everyone for joining us. And again, this is just the very first conversation as we kind of branch out into more of the goat, sheep, other species. So please stay tuned and engaged, and we're certainly going to be pushing more on this as we move forward over the coming months.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Good. Have a good night, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everybody.
Good evening. Good night.
Take care. Bye.